Oscar Piastri wins the Dutch Grand Prix as Lando Norris DNFs. This is Shifting Happens. Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to Shifting Happens, episode 26, and we are here to talk all things Dutch Grand Prix. Delighted to say that I'm joined by Rory and Marshall, and working diligently as always in the background. We have our wonderful producer Fly, who are, when we get to a certain incident in the race, he may or may not pop in and want to give his 2 cents on that. But we are here to talk Dutch Grand Prix, won by Oscar Piastri, joined on the podium by Max Verstappen and Isaac Hadjar. That is not the big talking point from this race. The big talking point from this race is Lando Norris's DNF due to an engine failure, a chassis problem. It's still not quite 100% known what happened to him. But anyway, he didn't finish the race. As you can see from our thumbnail, a shot of him sat on the hill looking rather forlorn, along with Charles Leclerc at various points. Marshall, simple question. Is that game, set, and match Piastri?
No, of course not. There's still tons of season to go. I mean, anything can happen. It's harder, obviously, but just as easy as this happened to Lando, something can happen to Oscar. That's not his fault. And yeah, like Lando, it's definitely worse than it was the day before yesterday, but it's not over by any stretch.
I mean, the gap is now 34 points, which is sizable. It's more than a race win ahead. I mean, Rory, this felt like a moment, didn't it? This felt like Malaysia 2016, various points in 2018, didn't it?
Yeah, I was watching with a group of friends, and I said, like, when that happened, it was like, I said Malaysia 2016, but like kind of thinking about it, when someone mentioned to me, like, it was like, remember, Piastri did lose 22 points in Australia, so like this gap could have been bigger than it already was. I agree with Marshall. I think it's a long way to go season. Like, Piastri could have an engine DNF at one point. He could be taken out. There's so much to go in this season. We don't know what's going to happen. Yes, it's for Lando. He has to basically, he'll have to go into the mindset of each race weekend, I need to maximize my results now, because if Piastri if he wins in Monza and Lando doesn't get a good start and his strategy doesn't work out, he could lose more points. We'll have to see in Abu Dhabi or Qatar, was that a Malaysia 2016 moment? At the moment, yes, we can make the memes out of it, but at the moment, it just showed the unfortunate side of motorsport that you just need to look in motorsport, because DNFs happen all the time. It happens to midfield drivers. It costs teams in midfield a position in midfield is about $30 million of money. So yes, it gets highlighted because it's a championship and the championship's on the line, but this happens in all levels of motorsport grid. So I think it's just the side of the motorsport that if you have the luck going for you, it works well, and if the luck runs out for that split moment, it can have costly effects.
Absolutely agree with you. Try telling that to the Lando Norris fans who've been DMing the FIA on Instagram saying, look at how McLaren are badly treating Lando Norris with all these car problems he's had across the season, and they're listing all these different races. And I'm like, well, first of all, 2 of the races you've named, he won them. So what's the point of listing those? And the others, he still scored massive points. The only one that matters is this technical failure, because it cost him 18 points.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't think Lando was going to win this race, because you saw with the gaps in the race, that we'll probably talk about that, every time Lando got close to Oscar, it just went dead out, because the cars were so even, and the dirty air has just reached 2021 levels of bad air.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a pet peeve I have of like the discourse on championships? Like, it used to be a season was 16 races. Now it's 24. And the season is made up of, each one of those races totaled up. And things are going to happen out of your control several times in that many races. And it's the races that you execute on that wins you the championship, not the ones where something happens to your competitor. Like, I get tired of this whole narrative of like, even in 2016, like everybody talks about Malaysia, right? And yes, Lewis had a masterful fight back in that season, but Nico had such a cushion built up early in the season. And if you look at like his performance across like the first half of the year was just so much better. And then you like up until Spain when all hell broke loose, like Nico, you can't like isolate one race and then say, oh, well, that one race is the reason the championship was lost. It's like, what about all those races early in the year that Nico banked all those points, right? Like, if any one of those didn't happen, then obviously he wouldn't have been in that position where a DNF would, severely compromise the result. So in the sense of like Lando's situation right now, you can point to the 36-point gap, but you can also point to, Canada, where he blew a fourth place by driving it into the wall for no reason. You can look at, any number of times where he just got beat flat out by Piastri on the day, or messed up his qualifying that compromised his grid position. I don't think anyone could argue that Lando, on balance, deserves to be leading the championship at this point in the season. I think Piastri's been stronger, not by much, but by enough. And over the course of the season, even if you have a DNF or two, it does tend to even out. And I just don't subscribe to that, like, oh, well, somebody had a DNF, so this isn't fair, or this reflects like a reality that would have been different. It's like, okay, but what happened in all 23 of those other races? Because you could have banked points that gave you a gap, that gave you enough of a cushion that this didn't kill your chances, right? So
like
you've got to look at it the whole year, right?
And Marshall, think about this as well. Like 2022, Max Verstappen DNFs 3 races, the first 2 of the 3 races of that season. Like he DNF'd in Bahrain in Australia, and we thought the championship was over back then. It was like Ferrari had the move, and then it equaled out. Yes, because Red Bull unexecuted their car development, and Max wasn't making mistakes like Leclerc was. But like and even saw last year, Max had the DNF in Australia. Yes, he had a cushion as well, like you mentioned, because like in that situation, he won 6 or 7 races of the first whatever, and he had that cushion. But still, like you can flip a DNF and make the adversity out of it, like that. That if you have your mentality, the right mentality, that you could equal it out. Like you could think down the line that Oscar could have an issue, or something could go the way that it the points gap closes, but it's not detrimental to the championship at this point.
Yeah, and let's not forget that in Australia, Lando and Oscar made exactly the same mistake, and one won the race, and the other, ended up 9th. So, sometimes luck is just not on your side.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you why I think the championship is over, and it's. We've come to a track this weekend where I think most casual observers would have looked at what happened last year and gone, okay, look, Oscar's been getting better this year, but this is a Lando Norris track. And we saw it all through free practice. We saw it in Q2. You thought Lando's warming up here. And then in Q3, Oscar executed an unbelievable lap. Just a brilliant lap. Okay, a little bit of a toe, but then there wasn't much in it. But he executed in the key moment. And that has been the key difference between them this year. Like, forget the DNFs, forget the whatever. When it's come down to it, in those big moments, Oscar has handled them better than Lando. And I think the only time where I think Lando handled it better was last time out in Hungary. Yeah, and that's where I thought maybe the momentum was starting to shift in his favour. But this, I think Oscar handled everything perfectly. He aces the start, cuts Lando off, opens the door for Max to come in and overtake him off the start with a really well executed start, drives off into the distance, and then when Lando gets past Max with a brilliant move around the outside, the two then start going, quite cat and mouse. And you're thinking, okay, this is quite an interesting little chess match that's happening between the two of them here. Oscar, of course, having the benefit of the clean air. And but he handled that so well. And he's done that time and time again in 2025 to the point where I think this is the key turning point in the season. Now, Lando Norris could win 9 straight races and win the championship. If he does, fair play to him. I just don't personally see him doing that because he's got a mistake or two in him. He may not execute in qualifying. He may not deliver in the race. And we saw it last year. We've seen it again this year. Forget the reliability gremlins. If all things equal out, I still think Oscar wins. And that's why I think this is such a key moment.
Okay, I have a question to pose to Marshall. Do we think that before, we saw Lando's form going up to the summer break? He won 3 out of the last 4 races. Do we think the summer break came at the wrong time for Lando in a sense of his of that upward trajectory of consistently winning races? Like, did that summer break kind of just get out of his mojo a little bit, or like no, you said back?
I don't think so. I think some of the wins he's had this year have been fortunate. I mean, he doesn't win Silverstone if Oscar makes that mistake with on the safety car restart. That was lucky. We know that he benefited from the one-stop strategy because he had such a poor start in Hungary. Look, he counteracted that with a sensational drive, but I think the summer break has to come at some point, and it's I think a driver worthy of being a world champion should ride the momentum regardless. I don't think he did much wrong this weekend apart from a dodgy start, which he overcame. He was trying to beat Oscar on track. He just didn't have the pace this weekend. That's fine. Yeah. Sometimes that happens. And then what happened to him was just unlucky. He had an issue with his car.
The qualifying reminded me of 2018 Mexico, when Max Verstappen was going for that youngest post record, and he was leading all the FP1s, Q1, Q2. First run in Q3, Daniel Ricciardo pulls out, and this fastest sector 2 of all, and he snatches the youngest spot. Yes, he went off in DNF, but that kind of gave me similar. Reminded me of that kind of moment where you think it's going to that one driver the whole session, and then the teammate pulls out of the bag.
Yeah, I mean, I think Oscar was always it's slightly different because I think Oscar was always in the conversation because he was fastest in Q1.
He just couldn't get that. He couldn't get one of the sectors right. Like, it was just one sector. He was fastest, and then Lando would get the middle sector, but he could never get the second sector Lando could, and then he got it.
Yeah. But I mean, it's unfortunate for Lando, but I just think Oscar's consistency and the fact that at the tracks where he was so bad last year, he has improved massively and has either beaten Lando at them or won those races. It's crazy to think that he has improved so much in the space of 12 months. I mean, we said at the start of the season, I remember you very clearly, Marshall, saying it, that you felt that before, if there was going to be a McLaren driver to challenge, you thought it would be Piastri, and that basically he would, because there were still question marks over Lando at that point, and there are still question marks over Lando, but the questions that we're not posing of Oscar, he's answering them anyway. So, yeah, it's
funny, and I should put on my tinfoil hat here and start going off on the Lando conspiracy theories, but I've seen lots of people on social media who don't know a whole lot about how racing works talking about how basically the team favors Piastri, right? That's the argument that
don't say that to Piastri fans.
Oh yeah, well, I don't think it's true. I think if anything the opposite is true, but I think they give the same car to both drivers, but I think the thing that is pretty amazing is if you were like Zach Brown, or you were, someone in McLaren corporate, I guess, that wanted to promote sort of the rise of McLaren in the new era, don't you want the British driver to be, the guy that you've brought in since 2019 and the guy who's been there for the entire development cycle of this team and bringing it back to prominence? Don't you want him to almost be the one that is your present, and then you want Oscar to be your future, where he's the guy who's going to bring you your championships in the future? But to me, like, if I say the name Oscar Piastri, nobody who's not a big Formula One fan really knows who that is. And he's got a very quiet and unassuming personality. He's not doing his online gaming, and it doesn't have like a side brand that he's selling hoodies every other week. Like, he's just kind of a quiet, unassuming guy that doesn't really want the spotlight, right? It seems like he's just kind of, finding his feet in Formula One still. And here he is leading the championship by 30 some points, I don't think if you're McLaren, you were quite prepared for this. I don't think that they would have, coming into the season, necessarily expected Oscar to even be this strong compared to Lando. Like, I think they might even be a little bit surprised. Like, it's not quite a Hamilton 2007, because that's like coming in as a rookie and, just lighting the world on fire, but it's pretty close. Like, this is nothing in Piastri's history told us that he had this in him. Like, it's
his F2 and F3 kind of like his
winning both of those in rookie seasons back to back. Yeah, I mean, you're going into Leclerc and Russell territory there. Like,
his like, yes, he had to wait for that. He had that gap year of the Alpine saga, and then the 23 season. Yes, he had the tire eating issues, but it took him like once that McLaren got that upgrade package.
His inconsistency last year, though, like, he had some really anonymous races last year, and it's not his outright speed, because I do think that, like, he's quick, but he's not like I think Lando on one lap, maybe not in Q3 when he needs it, but on any generic lap, like, Lando is probably quicker. But Piastri has just found this consistency that I don't think I expected. I don't think anyone could reasonably have expected him to be this consistent.
Because I do remember, Marshall, that we did say, like, I remember on the pods last year, we did say that we all wanted Piastri to fix his tire issues and also find consistency as well. So, like, you're right, like, we all didn't really expect it to the extent that we were seeing now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Oscar is I think he showed glimpses last year, particularly in Baku. I thought that was an outstanding drive, and I rather in the heat of the moment said he would win the championship this year. But
well, hey, you were bang on, right?
Well, at the moment, yeah, I'm looking like an absolute clairvoyant. Unlike,
but I mean, I think even with Formula 2 and Formula 3, like, it's really hard to get a read on someone's potential from those. Like, where's Theo Pourchaire now? Like,
yeah,
I think F3 is the better gauge. F2 is a lottery. Even when he was racing before direct change, they still had the same Mechachrome engines. I feel like even today, F3 is the most representable series on pace wise and just like consistency, because the cars don't have much reliability issues and are kind of like it's a free for all basically.
You say that, but the season he won the title, he nearly lost it to Logan Sargent. So
yeah, like Logan Sargent could be in F1 still if he's the McLaren.
No, I mean, look, I think we wanted Oscar to improve, and he has. I think he's improved more than I think anyone expected. I mean, look, come on, Fly, bring up the comment that you put in, because I know you want to give yourself a pat on the back. He picked Oscar to win the title, which he did.
I think Baxty as well. I think McLaren, like Marshall, he did. It could be that they didn't expect it, but also it's how they didn't expect. They expect at least one team to at least maybe challenge with them for the championship.
Yes. Yeah.
Not because they did. Now they have a championship fight, but it's between two drivers. So it's like they don't have this external factor that could separate the drivers' like position in the championship to say who can we focus on. It's now that they have the two McLaren drivers who I think, if we think about McLaren, like Lando and Oscar are equally matched drivers in the sense that on a race weekend they're kind of like they're nip and tuck with each other, but like there could be that one race weekend where Lando or Oscar storms at the park, but overall they are close as a.
I always feel like when Red Bull did fire Christian, I always felt like it was like on The Simpsons when Homer's razzing Flanders, like Flanders. So like Toto and Zach Brown are crapping on Christian and saying how he has to go, and then they actually fire him, and they're like, "Oh no, but you were doing such a great job," because they were taking the heat off of them, right? Like they were, like Christian was such a media magnet. Like he didn't. There was no camera or microphone that Christian didn't want to get in front of, and now like they're front and center. There's nowhere to hide. Like,
don't worry, he'll be back.
No. Total had some had quotes of the century this weekend,
Oh,
which cannot be said on a YouTube stream, but we could just search for yourself.
Yes, yeah, totally did have that. I mean, look, going back to Oscar Lando, I mean, we could talk about this to death. But I mean, I think Rory raises a really salient point that we were expecting a much closer fight this year. I mean, McLaren have done an unbelievable job. We have to sort of lead off with that and say, give them their flowers. Rob Marshall, Andrea Stella, the whole team have been unbelievable in developing that car. And I think if Mercedes do produce a rocket ship engine next year, I fully expect McLaren to be challenging them really with their aero team. They've got this new wind tunnel. Mercedes, you'd expect to be stronger given the nature of the regs, but I think McLaren will be right there. But then you look at the other contenders.
I'm just going to pause you there. Mercedes are not going to give McLaren their engines until the shakedown. They're not going to give them the engines.
Of course they're not, no.
They're going to be like, you can have the dummy engines, but once we get to Australia, you can have the actual engines.
So I think you look at the other teams. I mean, Red Bull have just dropped off a cliff this year. Max has been the best driver this year. I don't think anyone disputes that really, unless you're a fan of a certain other driver. But he has been the best driver this year. But that Red Bull car is not championship worthy. And I think there's a wider discussion to be had about how hard Red Bull have dropped off from 2023. And then, of course, there's been the crap performance of the second car. And then you look at...
The thing with the second car is that, yes, qualifying, he's like the second driver, Yuki, he's getting closer. The problem is this field spread is so close that a 10th is like 5 places.
Exactly.
But the thing is, like, yes, Yuki has scored points, but the problem is Yuki scores points, and then you get the stat. Isaac Hadjar has scored more points than the second driver in the last how many races?
Yeah, it's
the entire season.
The entire season, we'll get to him. Don't worry. We are getting to Isaac Hadjar. And then you look at Mercedes, who have never got this set of regulations right, ever. Like, they just haven't got it. They picked off a few race wins here or there, but they've never nailed it to the point where you think, yeah, Mercedes are back. And then you look at Ferrari. You know what? Fly, if you've got it, roll the clip. Roll the clip, because that sums up their weekend. Absolutely shocking for Ferrari. Not only was this weekend...
Can we pause it here and put some opera music behind BaxtyB? Just like some intense opera music.
Honestly, they were 14 points behind, and then they decided to change their entire concept.
Can I just say, AJ is not here. So can I just say...
Got the image. I would just say this is crazy camera work from the TV director.
They knew.
So this is the Ferrari I remember. This is the Ferrari of my childhood. I almost feel nostalgic. Like this is this Grand Prix felt like Ferrari to me. Forget the whole Schumacher era, forget the whole, Vettel and Raikkonen era. No, this is Ferrari. This is the Ferrari I grew up with. And it's just kind of like a warm blanket, like it just feels comfortable.
It's
like
familiar.
It's familiar. It's like Gerhard Berger and
This,
John
this,
Lacey.
this,
It's
this,
just
this isn't the Red Benetton era yet. This is
No.
This is the Gerhard Berger Jean Lacey era. That's what this is. This is like
just with two better drivers. Like
yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. It's just
So
like it feels right.
yeah, I mean Ferrari on Friday were shockingly awful, and then they actually improved their performance. I thought they were absolute cannon fodder for a Q2 exit, and everyone laughing at them.
I thought on Friday they would be Q1 exit.
Yeah, I mean that's how bad they were, and then they got to Q3 and looked actually okay. The gap between Lewis and Charles was minimal. I think Lewis would have been annoyed that Charles outqualified him in the end because he but beaten him every session up until that point, but that's a small matter. Yeah. And then they ended up DNFing, but they were competitive with the Mercedes. Lewis and Charles were very competitive with George, and Kimi wasn't really factoring into that conversation with them until a certain point. And then it starts to rain a little bit, and then Lewis loses it and causes the safety car, which was unfortunate. It was an unfortunate mistake for Lewis, and there's no defending him on it. It was just what it is. And then Charles got screwed by the safety car, has the incident with George, and then George basically somehow telepathically, telepathically decides to tell Kimi destroy Charles and take him out the race. So a double DNF for Ferrari.
Back to you say that, but Kimi's just doing what the former car used to do when it saw a car on its outside, just punt it.
You mean the former occupant of that car?
Yes. When he did Albon.
I know what you mean. Yeah. But it was Alex Albon. It was only ever Alex Albon he did that to. So
you could say a certain Silverstone in some work. We'll talk about that one here.
But he was on the. Oh no, that's true. He wasn't on the outside. But anyway.
Okay, let's move on.
It's not a Red Bull though.
So yeah, not a Red Bull. Yeah,
not a Red Bull. I don't care. No, I mean, look, let's talk about the big incident involving Charles Leclerc and George Russell. There's been a lot of mixed emotions around this one. There are a lot of people saying that it was just great racing. Sorry, I see what Marshall's doing.
Didn't buy that.
And then we've got, and then people like me basically saying, no, that was reckless racing. So they're coming into turn 11, turn 12 part of the track, and Charles is trying, but he's not quite alongside George. And as George takes the racing line into turn 12 and all of a sudden sees a Ferrari on his left, they make contact. Now, in my opinion, I personally feel, looking at the pictures, that Charles is probably all four wheels off track, but it's the stewards looked at it. It's impossible to prove. Fine. Okay, whatever. But that's secondary to the fact that he caused a collision. That is what he did, because he was the one making the move. People saying, oh, George should have given him room. No, Charles was not entitled to any racing space there. Charles just decided to put his Ferrari up the inside of turn 12. He causes irreparable damage to George. Well, not race-ending damage, but causes damage to George's car that possibly stopped him from fighting for a podium at the end of the race. Now, I'm sorry, I don't care what you say. Oh, it was a ballsy move. He still hit George Russell. He still caused damage. And the only reason Mercedes did not pursue that in the stewards' room is because of what happened later with Kimi. And Mercedes want to go to Monza and live.
Yeah. We did have our conversations in our group chat. I was of the opinion at the time that it was, I think it was a move, but by the letter of the law, if we have to go by the FI stewards' consistency of documents, George doesn't have to give room because Charles is in the head of the apex. Now it does beg the question that drivers did vote for these rules and said we don't all the drivers except Max Verstappen said we want these new guidelines and so forth. But it kind of just comes to the question that the drivers voted this in, and now they're saying when it doesn't go their way, of course they're going to be angry about it. But that's my.
Can I elaborate on the conspiracy here?
Go for it, mate.
Go for it.
So why does the FIA hate Lewis Hamilton so much?
You're talking about the penalty. We haven't got to that yet.
Why does the FIA hate Lewis Hamilton? Why are they coming down so hard on him? Why do they investigate it after the race? Why don't they give him a penalty in the race? And then why don't they give him like a penalty on his race time instead of making him serve a 5 grid place penalty in the next race? Because they hate Lewis Hamilton. I have been reading some cracked stuff, and I'm going to throw this off now because Lewanon has just about done it for me at this point in time. Like, I've seen like people complaining about inconsistency with how they judge these incidents, and it's like, yes, there is inconsistency, but it's because there are no two incidents that are the same. And creating a collision is something that happens on the racetrack. So if you're talking about, this incident between George and, and Charles, or you're talking about Kimi dive bombing Charles later, those are things that happen within the context of the race itself. Ignoring double waved yellow flags is not the same thing. It's not even a comparable thing. It's like you don't do that. And if you read the decision memo on the Hamilton incident, he was going way too fast, like way too fast for the conditions in like going up to the grid. So it's really a slam dunk, and it's bad form to behave in that way when nobody else is doing it. It kind of just shows I think it shows how frustrated he is right now, that he's trying to get back to the pits to go through and do more like warm-up laps essentially prior to the race because he's not happy with the car, obviously, and he's trying to get as many laps in that 10-minute free session that you basically get where you drive around to the grid and you can go through the pits, right? But this stuff with Charles and George, and I look at that and I'm like, I can't detach the race. Yeah, like this. Like, Charles is in the gravel. Like, what are you going to do? Penalize him for, like, track limits or what? Like, this is just, like, if Gilles Villeneuve did this, we would have put it on a poster. Like, this is racing, man. This is awesome. Why are we discouraging this?
Nobody caused a collision. That's why that's what they were investigating, and that's what that's why they called them back in front of the stewards after the race. It wasn't they weren't really they were looking at the off-track stuff, but they deemed that it was impossible to tell even with all their extra angles. But regardless, he caused a collision. We can't ignore that fact.
But but it's not like George left him space.
He didn't need to.
Oh, then they both got what they deserved then. Well, then then George is going to get damage on his car and finish fourth. Like, well, no, that's what we call racing. And I think that I joked with you on our group chat, like when it happened, it's like, BaxtyB, it's a motor race. We went car racing. But it's like, I hate this, what Formula One has become. I hate that it's like now this game of like wagging fingers and somebody has to be predominantly to blame, and that there's 10-second penalties now instead of 5, so it basically ruins your race. And it's just, there's so much crap about these rulings that if they just knew that it was like, if George knew that if Charles was coming at him and if they made contact, that there was no likelihood of Charles getting a penalty, he's not going to let Charles run into him. He's going to do more to avoid the collision. Right now, you're just letting the person on the outside run like Liam Lawson just gets to he just got to run the guy on the outside off. It's like now the Charles puts his nose in, and if he goes off there, like if they're going to police it amongst themselves and they have a reasonable expectation that when they make contact there's not going to be any consequences, they'll actually behave better. Because now they're just like trying to get the penalty, or they're putting their car in a place that would lead to someone getting a penalty. Like Max is the king of this. Max knows where to put his car to make sure that the other guy gets a penalty or that he doesn't get a penalty, even if contact happens, and he doesn't get out of the way to avoid it. It takes two to race, and I think that these driving standards are absolutely nonsense because it basically wants to put someone at fault no matter what and give somebody a penalty no matter what. Like the Sainz one was crazy. Like, okay, Liam doesn't get a penalty, but Sainz shouldn't get a penalty either. But it just seems like every incident they have to determine someone is predominantly at blame. I would rather like an 80-20 rule. If it's like, if you're 80% or more to blame, okay, fine. But if it's like 70-30 or less, like if you could have done an action that would have resulted in contact not happening, then yeah, like look where George was in that pass. Like George was nowhere near where you normally are on that corner. He's pinching Charles down onto the
That's the
gravel.
racing line. Sure.
No, come on. That's not where they normally are. He's not down on the white line that deep coming to the exit of the corner. Like that's not where you would be. Like and if you know somebody's there, you're gonna open up the steering on that corner. Like this is all just like a game that they're playing with the stewards, and they're playing go cry. And it's like the stewards just need to say, you know what? Forget it. You guys sort it. You guys sort it amongst yourselves. Go car racing. Go have fun. Go do your thing. If you go over the line and it's egregious, we'll do something. But if it's just wheel-to-wheel combat, go have fun. Go do your thing. And I think that would be so much better for Formula One, and it would be better for the viewers, and it wouldn't penalize going for it. You know, like look at the pass that we talk about in Champ Car with Zanardi passing Herta on the corkscrew in the dirt. Like there's posters of that. They call it the pass to this day. And if that happened today in Formula One, it would be an instant penalty. So, you know, let's let them race. Like if there's no harm, no foul, you know, George finished 4th, so his car wasn't that damaged. So just yeah, I hate it.
I have two things to that. I personally think, having seen the onboard of George, he's just taking a line in now. I don't think he's really thinking Charles going to go for that. Now, could you call that a bit of naivety? Perhaps you could, but I think he's just gone for the corner and then maybe trying to set Charles up in such a way that he then has a better line. So but that's racing. That's fine. They all do that. I also think that if Mercedes wanted to, they could have pursued a penalty for Charles, and they probably would have got it, which would have been a grid drop for the next race, along with probably a 5er, I would say, no more than that. But the reason they didn't go for it, and Toto made this perfectly clear after the race, he said, we don't want Charles to get a grid drop because he's had an incident with one of our drivers. And you know, I mean, Kimi completely took him out. I mean, that was slam dunk 10-second penalty for being absolute. I mean, I know he's a teenager, but you're in Formula One. I'm sorry, that doesn't make you immune from criticism. That was stupidity.
We criticised Max Verstappen that when he was a teenager. So
exactly.
that would be the slam dunk that I'm talking about, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah. Well,
like if you do what he does, yeah. Like
yeah.
if you do that to someone, absolutely make it a penalty. But if it's just like in the course of racing,
Because I had people pointing out to me, oh, but they both agreed it was a racing incident. It's like, yeah, because George was probably told not to push it because they didn't want Charles getting a penalty after what happened. So it's just my view. I personally think, look, he caused a collision. That's what we need to like. It's a great move, but he caused a collision.
So
That's
how many
what he
collisions did Gilles Villeneuve cause in the 1979 race
I
at
don't know,
Dijon?
but
Well, you've seen the clip, the classic Gilles Villeneuve René Arnoux battle at Dijon. Like,
yeah,
so they hit each other like 4 or 5 times, and then afterwards they thought it was the funnest thing they've ever done, and they both like were just thrilled about the battle, because that's racing sometimes. Like, sometimes you make contact. You don't need to penalize every time 2 cars hit each other. There doesn't need to be a penalty every single time. Like, sometimes contact just happens. And sometimes someone is more to blame than the other, but there's everything that the other guy could do to avoid it if he had have wanted to. And I think that we just have to take a more lenient approach and let these guys work it out amongst themselves. They're supposed to be the best drivers in the world, and they're sitting here like putting their car in a place where, like, if you did what Formula One drivers do on the regular on our regional track where I marshal at, you would be hated pretty quickly. Like, it is incumbent on you to get out of the way, or to at least have some sort of self-preservation instinct to avoid if your competitor has gone in too deep or something. Like, Formula One drivers now just pin it, drift, and just give their opponent no space and say, oh, I just taking my line. It's like, no, it's also incumbent on you to avoid a collision. And that's what IMSA says. Like, IMSA's standard is not causing a collision. It's like, did you cause an unavoidable collision? Could the other driver have prevented this? And that's how they penalize. Like, predominantly, obviously, like, could you have gone off the track to avoid it? Maybe. But like, in the realistic sense of like, did you put the competitor in a position where it was inevitable that there was contact? And so many of these penalized incidents in Formula One would never meet that standard that other racing series have, and it gets tiring. Like, I hate this whole penalty discourse and how we argue about inconsistency when it's really just every incident is slightly different. You never have the same corner, you never have the same incident. So it's going to feel inconsistent just because it's so subjective. And I would wish that we could just be more lenient and only penalize the ones that are egregious.
Well, I mean, we could talk about this for hours. We're not going to, because we've got other things we need to cover. But George, I felt that the incident cost George Russell from potentially challenging for a podium after the last safety car restart. But who got that podium, I hear you ask? Well, it was, for the first time, Isaac Hadjar, 5th youngest podium sitter of all time, the first ever Red Bull Junior to get a podium in his rookie season. And as you can see, Marshall and Rory are decked out in the various guises of Team Faenza, with Minardi and AlphaTauri. Of the hard work, I think a lot of it was done on Saturday, Rory, but this was another brilliant drive from Hadjar, who has been in the conversation for Rookie of the Year pretty much all season, and he once again showed why.
Yeah, it's with Hadjar, it's like we had the lows of Australia, and now we have the highs of Netherlands. But even before that, he was doing superb work in that. Or be like, he was getting top. I think he got a top 6 finish at one point, or top 8 anyway. He's qualifying. He's been there. He's been there when he was matching Yuki Tsunoda when he found 4 after Australia, Lawson as well. But I think that podium is like, it's like the top. You're happy for him. You're also like, you don't want him to do too well, or he'll get promoted to that Red Bull second seat, and his career
That
might
was
go.
already happening. Let's be honest. That was already going to happen.
I'm hoping he stays in RB for 2026. Just to give him
You see
another
the
year.
terrible question in the press conference. That was funny. Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. But no,
No, I'm telling you
No, go
now,
ahead.
Isaac Hadjar will be in a Red Bull next year, and I think that's been set in stone for a little while because I don't see Tsunoda surviving. But Marshall, what's impressed you with Hadjar this season?
I think that he's just quick. Like he's been, he had a couple struggles in the last few races. I think Liam has gotten stronger as he's gotten his confidence back. But I think, of the rookies, he had a really bad mistake in his very first race. And, I think he had one other big accident. Was it Imola?
Silverstone,
Right,
he
Silverstone,
and Kimi had a big crash, yeah.
Yeah. But that's going to happen when you're a rookie. Yeah, he's just been quick. Like the kid is fast, resilient, and he's just impressed beyond, I think, what the expectations were for him. But let's not the RB is a pretty good car too. Like it's more drivable than the Red Bull. I think somebody was joking about what happens if they promote Max to the RB, but
there've been serious questions about that. Like genuinely.
Remember the rumors when Max was like in 23, he was winning the championship, and Max was going to win it like whatever in Japan. And he said, "Max, do you want to go into the AlphaTauri to drive her for the rest of the season?" It's like these rumors these are more serious rumors than that period.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to see it just to see like what he can do with that car.
Craig Slater actually asked Alan Permain. He said to him, "Is there any conversation about putting Max in the car?" And Alan Permain just looked at him and went, "No, of course not. Why would we do that?"
Yeah, that's not happening. But
yeah.
No, I thought it was a really good race for him. I did expect him to kind of go backwards from his grid spot, and just the fact that he just held it the whole way. Like this was a race that was way more attritional than we're used to in modern Formula One, just with the with the Lando failure and with all the incidents at turn 3.
That's the thing that impressed me with Isaac yesterday was the fact that you kind of expected Leclerc to go past. You expected the Mercedes to go past him, and yet he was so strong, and he was like, "Nope, you're not good." And he wasn't. He kept pace with Max. Max never really got away from him.
No, and that's what I was gonna say. Is like even though it was attritional, like if you look at this, like the only guy that went out ahead of him was Lando. Like he had the measure.
The thing with Max, like Hadjar was the best blocker for Max at that point. He was like, that's what Yuki should be, but it was Hadjar.
Yeah.
Well, that's the advantage of having 4 cars instead of 2.
Oh, there we go. So, quick question for you both: Isaac Hadjar, Red Bull 2026, yes or no? Marshall?
Oh, of course, yeah, slam dunk.
Rory?
My heart says, my head says yes, but my heart says no. I want Hadjar to have a second year in that RB, just to have a bit more, not to be thrown in under the. Because I think Hadjar would benefit just like what Gasly had. Because I think when Gasly went in, he should have had another year at least. I think he's having a amazing seat, but this second seat, any in that Red Bull is like the media is on you. Like the media only cares about you in that RB when you're on the podium or have a top 5 finish or out qualify. If you do it's just anything you do in that Red Bull second seat, even though if the car is not performing, you are performing, is micro-analyzed. And I think Hadjar would be able to handle it, but I think I just want, for his longevity in the sport, I hope he just gets that. If he can become a team leader in that RB, for example.
So I've got 2 things on this. So first of all, yes, I agree he's going to Red Bull. I've already said that. But secondly, the culture at Red Bull that he would go to would be vastly different to what Gasly went into, to what Albon went into, to what Checo and Liam Lawson and Yuki have gone into. Christian Horner is not there anymore. You've got a very, very different team now. He's got Lauren Mekies that he knows was his team principal for the first half of this season. And I think they are running that team already as a 2-car team rather than the Max and will just stick other things, sort of cobble together a car for the second one. So I think he would be given more of a fair shake than I think than the others would. And also he would be going at the start of a brand new reg set. So where things will be a little bit more equal. Obviously, Max will be given preference, and he should do because he is the 4-time world champion versus a 1-time podium stander in Isaac. But I think if there is a time to make that move, now is the time to do it, essentially. But also, and Max is probably going to leave at the end of 2026, so Red Bull are going to want to get somebody in for next year that can then potentially carry them forward because they know they're about to go into probably a big period of transition unless they surprise us all next year. And then, of course, there's the question of one young Arvin Lindblad, who Red Bull are very keen to get into an F1 car. They want to stick him in the RB. He's already done tests. He's already done FP1s this year. He's having an okay season in F2, not great, but not awful.
But also F2 is not the best. It's not the sample size. It's not the best representation of a driver at this point.
No, absolutely. Though, I mean, the top 2 in the championship from last year are doing pretty well this year. So, but yeah, and I agree with you. But he is clearly somebody that they have identified as being the next one. It's not Isaac. They like Isaac. They rate him, but he's not the guy. The guy they think that's going to be is Lindblad. So I think the full lineup for next year is probably going to be Max and Isaac in the Red Bull and Liam and Lindblad in the RB. What happens to Yuki? I don't know. I've heard him linked with Alpine. I don't think I'd want him to go there, but he may have no choice if he wants to keep racing in Formula One. At least we get Pierre and Yuki content again. That would be fun.
I think, and if Mercedes has built a good 2026 engine, don't forget that Alpine is using that engine.
Oh, Marshall, we have to forget the Alpine chassis department is not the best.
Yeah.
Or the air department.
Fabio says they're great, so therefore we have to believe him because his lips are moving.
Right.
Yeah. But and Christian Horner's going to probably own that team soon. So
and Bernie Eccleston as well. Apparently,
oh sweet dear baby Jesus! That
I will eat, if that happens. I will eat this Minardi hat.
Yes, let's not talk that one into it. Thank you, Toto, for talking that one into existence.
Yeah, I just want to say, it's always nice to see when the junior Red Bull team gets a podium.
That was or the team of Fianza base. That was that first podium since Baku 21.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's people have no idea what it was like back in the old days. Minardi in the year of this shirt is the year that Max's dad raced for Minardi because it's got the Trust, which was his sponsor. But imagine a team that by lap 12 or 13 is getting lapped.
So Marussia and Lotus.
No, not even. Minardi in its last legs was you can't even picture there were 10 teams in Formula One, and you would never ever see all 10 teams on the lead lap, all finishers on the lead lap back then. It was just not possible. But Minardi every single year would finish dead last, but they'd always be back next year. They were just the absolute kings of resiliency.
Were they the cockroaches of F1? Just
well, it was because they didn't. It was because they didn't waste money, right? Eddie Jordan's team, always punched above its weight, but it drowned in its own debt.
Yeah.
Where like, and so many of the other teams were like that, where they would just, like Arrows was a classic example of just like, they'd always take the better engine that they couldn't afford.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd end up owing so much money to their engine supplier that they would have to default on the bill and get a new engine the next year. Where Minardi would just take the crappiest engine for the cheapest price. And they wouldn't try to, do anything that would compromise their presence on the grid. And they merged with a few teams over the years. I think they basically ate Acela and Scuderia Italia, like merged with some other ones. But like Faenza was in Formula One from 85 to 2005, sold to Toro Rosso in 05, and they're still using that Minardi factory today. So their legacy lives on in Formula One, and I was a huge Minardi fan just because I admired that spirit of just staying alive, just being in the show. And when they got points, it was bigger to me than anyone winning a race. Like when Mark Webber got 5th in the Australian Grand Prix, that was bigger than any win. That was Minardi getting 2 points was just incredible. But yeah, I think it's just that last link to Faenza, that it's still there. I will always celebrate that, and I'm glad that they still exist just for that reason.
Yeah, I think to move on to our next, but to talk about one of the minnows of sport, one of the big teams coming in, one of the big American manufacturers coming in, Cadillac, who recently just announced their drivers, and I can speak for all of us to say this was one of the worst kept secrets in the paddock. We knew this was going to happen for a long time, but we just needed the official word. So we have we have 2 new rookies, Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez, returning.
I hear they're quite good.
Sport. I heard it, yeah.
A
lot of F2 starts between them and F3, but no.
Are they as good a rookie as Fernando Alonso though? So,
yeah.
No, yeah. So this is the news that Cadillac, as Rory has said, bringing in Bottas and Checo. Checo, I think we all saw. I mean, all three. I rewatched our video that we did with the predictions. Checo, what all three of us predicted him, and then Shez was the only one to call Bottas, which is why I then made the meme that nobody watched.
I watched it. Wait, who did I forget who I picked. I think I picked like some youngster or something that.
You picked Checo and Colton Herta.
Oh,
in fact, we all picked Checo and Colton Herta. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's the safest possible option that they could have taken. Checo, yes, brings a lot of money, but he also brings a hell of a lot of experience as well from a championship-winning team. Bottas brings race-winning experience and championship-winning team experience. Plus, he also has experience of Ferrari engines, given he's done 2 years there. So,
like it'll be like the Ferrari engine point, like it will be like similar. Like they'll use the similar settings, but of course the engines will have changed. But he'll know like the processes and so forth that they use.
Yeah. So
you know what I think is funny about this is like just the irony, because if you remember when we were talking about an 11th team, when it was still rumored to be Andretti, and there was, others tendering their applications or whatever, the argument was always that F1 was such a closed shop and it was so hard for rookies to get in that it would be great to have a couple other teams and more seats so that rookies could get in. And this year we had 6 rookies, if you want to include Lawson. And the new team is coming in and hiring back 2 guys that are old and washed up. So it's just funny that, we made this argument of like, oh, we need more teams to get fresh blood in the sport. And the new team is bringing in 2 guys that, we've seen before and have had the longest careers of any active drivers that are on the grid currently. So,
well, bar Fernando and Lewis, but yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And
Hulkenberg. And Hulkenberg. But Hulkenberg had a couple years out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Same
the
with
thing I
Fernando,
would
but-
say is there were rookies that were linked to Cadillac. You had Alex Dunn was linked, which I think would have been a brilliant pickup. Drogovic was linked. Not Mick's not a rookie, but he's still relatively fresh. I'm surprised Fornaroli wasn't considered.
The thing with Fornaroli, I think, hampers him is that F3 season that he didn't get a win in that. Like, yes, he went and won it out, like, with winning, but still, like, it's... first of all, Alex Dunn, I'm the opinion of Alex that I'd rather see him sit out because, yes, it would have been a great experience, but for Cadillac's sake, I think the reason they went for the safe option is because they know they need a period of stability, not to have pressure on a rookie, just have, like, two drivers come in, help build the foundations, because think of it, these two drivers are not going to be in a Cadillac powered car. That Cadillac engine is looking like it's instead of 28, it's coming 29. So I don't think they're staying around for that. They'll be there up till about maybe 28, I think, depending on the performance of that team. I think they're just there just to help get the team. They just need two drivers who know what they're doing, know what is expected of building a team up, because Bottas was there in the William days. He was there in the early days of end of Alfa Romeo Sauber and so forth. It's just, and Perez knows as well, Force India. It's just getting the stability right and getting that team into a position where it's then able for a new era of bringing a transition period of bringing rookies in. Because at the moment, this is a team building from scratch. It's not it's not like Audi taking over Sauber because like Sauber has the facilities already in place.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at the same time, that's another reason why I don't understand why Checo and Bottas want to go there when there's other seats available.
But they're also getting plenty of money probably.
Yeah, but I mean, wouldn't Checo be better going to Alpine with a Mercedes?
I think Bottas would probably be better there than Checo, to be honest with you. But
either of them. But like, let's Checo drove a Mercedes engine Racing Point for years. He's no stranger to.
Do we not do that? You see the meme of the last time Perez and Bottas drove the same car was the 2019 Mercedes and 2020 Mercedes.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah. The pink Mercedes.
Yeah. I love that meme so much.
But yeah, it just doesn't make sense for them to pick this brand new team if they had any other options. Because I don't think they're going to be very good.
But you look at Alpine, right, and look who's there. Then they've probably looked at that and gone, I don't want anything to do with that dumpster fire called Flavio Briatore. I am steering well clear of that. Much in the same way that Max Verstappen is believed to have been like, I don't want anything to do with the Strolls at Aston Martin, despite this big money offer that's apparently been or not been given to him. So, maybe that's why they decided to go for Cadillac. I mean, for Checo, I think from a business perspective, it makes so much sense. Like, American brand will be huge in Mexico as well. Like, that just makes complete sense. Bottas, I mean, I said in the prediction video, and again, I made memes out of it, but I said he wouldn't want to go to a startup team. Shows how much I know. But there's potential marketing opportunities there for him as well. Maybe they're looking a little bit beyond their F1 careers to kind of see what they could build after that.
I think it just
into the American market.
He took the first thing that was being offered.
I wouldn't agree with that because he was being linked to that Alpine seat.
He should take it. Like that seat is the most underrated seat. If they're getting a Mercedes engine and Mercedes ends up being as good as we think they are in the new regulations, then you want to be in a Mercedes customer car. Like,
just go and get Yuki Tsunoda, please.
Yeah, that's probably where he'll end up, but only as a stopgap until Honda has a second team or there's a seat at Aston Martin.
Possibly, yeah. We'll see.
Unless Stroll is quietly on his way out, but we'll see.
Please. Anyway, we've got a race this weekend in Monza. It's time for the predictions. Now, my streak came to an end. I'm okay with it. It's fine. Did you guys? I actually posted the secret to my success.
Yeah,
Basically,
so-
to reveal to the viewers, I do the prediction videos, and I changed the music for Canada because I thought, I need to freshen this up. And then I just kept getting it right. So I was like, this is the success. And then Lando's engine blew up. So thanks for that, Lando. But yeah, me and Shez are tied
In
at
all,
the top.
in all
on
honesty,
5.
Lando wasn't going to win anyway. So
yeah, right.
Small details. There was going to be a way.
Yeah.
So, continue. So yeah, so I'm on 5 with Shez. Rory, you're on 4. Marshall, I think you've got 3, Fly's on 2, and AJ's on 0. But that's because he does chaos picks. Do you have, chaps, who's winning Monza? Marshall, I'll come to you first.
Lando.
You're sticking with him just for now?
Yeah.
Rory?
I feel like I want to say a Ferrari just because I feel like Ferrari just throw an engine at it, engine maps, everything just for something to go. But no, I think it's going to be a disaster for Ferrari this weekend. I think I want to regain some form on this predictions list, and I am going to say, God, because I think Lando's going to take an engine penalty. I'll say Piastri.
You think Lando's taking an engine penalty?
No, he's due. He's due for a new engine in Monza anyway.
He's due for a new engine. Like even if this engine, he would have had to take an engine eventually because he can't run an engine this season on free.
Yeah, well, okay, we'll see. We'll see
they
what
won't
happens.
take it here. They'll take their penalty probably in Singapore or somewhere.
Somewhere he can make progress because trying to overtake a Monza, as we know, is not easy. Yeah. Fly has predicted Oscar Piastri. So we've got 2 for Piastri, 1 for Lando Norris. Make that 3 for Oscar Piastri. I think Oscar, this track he seems to be better in high speed. Lando's slightly better in lower speed. So I think Oscar will probably be, this track probably suits him a little bit better. So I expect him to come away with a win. And I think he would have won last year had Ferrari not pulled a rabbit out the hat with the one stop. So yeah, I'm going with Piastri. We will post the videos as and when we can. Got to get the predictions from the other 2 to see what's going on.
We need our chaos pick. It's not complete without our chaos pick.
I'm going to say this first. I feel like AJ is going to say Charles.
Yeah, he is.
I
probably
don't know why.
Going to say Charles. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, he wasn't the chaos pick last time. That was Fly who picked Pierre Gasly to win in Zandvoort. I nearly spat out my tea when he put that message in. I was like, what? So yeah, he's gone more sensible this time. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I picked Max Verstappen thinking it was going to be a race full of rain, and it didn't happen.
That car slowed the rain anyway. So
yeah.
So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Tune in. Let's start that again. Thank you for watching. This has been Shifting Happens, episode 26. If you are watching on YouTube, then please hit the like and subscribe button. We've seen a little bump in subscribers recently, so thank you for that. If you are listening on an audio platform such as Spotify and iTunes, please do leave us a 5-star rating. It really helps get our podcast out there. And until next time, guys, a big thank you to Marshall, a big thank you to Rory, a big thank you to Fly. And until next time, stay safe, and we shall speak to you all very, very soon.